Hello, welcome to the Retro Game Club podcast, Season 6, Episode 2, I think, which is also, I think, Episode 165. I am Rob, and joining me is the sequel to Hugh, Super H.
Super H, yes. I think that was a club of some sort, wasn't it? No, it's 4-H I'm thinking of.
Or a drug, maybe? I don't know.
Super H could be a drug, yeah. Go score some Super H after we're done recording.
So welcome to like minus 15 Fahrenheit wind chills and icy roads and stuff in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording this on January 20th, so everyone knows what we're recording a little ahead of time.
I didn't realize there actually is apparently a grocery store chain called Super H.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Originally from Queens, but are now... Okay, well, whatever. American supermarket chain of Asian supermarkets operated by... Okay, Lyndhurstburg, New Canada. So this is going to turn out I've been to one, probably.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since we last talked?
Oh, what have I been up to? Where did I put the notes here? Well, I did get a PlayStation 5 finally.
Wow.
Did finally get one, yeah.
What have you played on it?
I've literally only played Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
And then I bought, even though it was a PS4 game, I bought Burnout Remastered for like a nickel on the New Year's sale. Not literally a nickel, but not a lot of money. It was pretty cheap. I haven't played that yet. I mean, overall, I like it. It's much more linear than the previous major release. I don't know what even counts as the previous major release. I guess would it be 15 or 7? Was it Final Fantasy 7
remake? Yeah,
Rebirth.
That's the new one that comes out soon. Yeah, Rebirth.
That's the new one. Okay. Okay. Well, it plays more like Final Fantasy 7, not Rebirth. Remake. Okay. Eventually, we'll get Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth Remake.
Yeah.
That's in the future, but it plays more like that. You know, it's like an Uncharted game, but you know, with Final Fantasy battles. But at this point, the battles are really action based, like 15 was.
Are the kaiju parts pretty cool?
Yeah, I just did one last night though, and it went on for an hour.
Really?
Oh no, I'm serious.
Those are the summons, right?
Yeah, the summons. Yeah. So the boss fights are like summons, you know, and summons have always been in Final Fantasy games, but now the summons are like these things that are as tall as skyscrapers, right? And the battle scenes are just go on forever. I mean, they're very cool. Like they look really epic. You know, it looks like a Godzilla movie or whatever. Like they're crazy good looking, but they're also really long. I guess they made them long because they put so much effort into building them.
Are those parts fun?
Yeah. Overall, I mean. After a point, like the one I did last night, when I was in like, I thought I was done with the battle, and then it's like, oh wait, no, here's another phase now. At that point, I was like, okay, maybe this could have wrapped up sooner.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel with everything. Like every movie I've seen in the past like 5 years, I'm just like, this could be 15 minutes shorter. But
you overall enjoy the game?
Yeah. Overall, yeah. I'm still plugging away at it. Yeah, I like it. I like the lead character. You know. He's a little emo, but so are most Final Fantasy protagonists.
Like, yeah.
You know? He's not the most emo, but maybe top half. I don't know if I could rank Final Fantasy protagonists by how emo they are.
That would be a pretty good post.
Yeah, I think 8 probably wins. And then I don't know who's next after that. 15 is a pretty emo protagonist. He spends a lot of time just crying.
Yeah, I couldn't deal with the hair in 15. I noped out of it.
Okay.
I just couldn't anymore.
Yeah, 15 I like it. It is mostly like open-ish. Like you can drive around, you can explore. 16 there's really not any exploration. It's just straight up like go to this place, do this quest, go to this place, do this quest, you know, not no real exploration that I found.
Did you try that Final Fantasy 1 remake that was Strangers of Paradise? It's a PS4 game.
No, I was going to talk about a Final Fantasy remake later today, though.
Yeah. Well, if you ever do play that one,
Strangers of Paradise.
Strangers of Paradise. Yeah, it's like a reimagining of Final Fantasy 1. I think it came out 2 years ago, I want to say.
I haven't even heard of this. That's amazing.
I tried this, and it just wasn't for me. The systems got a little bit too complex for me because it's very action-based.
Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is an action role-playing game. As an alternative universe prequel of Square Enix's Final Fantasy on the NES. Huh. Nope, never even heard of this, man. Probably sold 1 million copies and everything, right?
Yeah, you could probably get it for like $1. It was very well received. It just, there was just too much to learn in it. I was busy at the time.
Yeah, this is nuts. I've never even heard of this, and I follow Final Fantasy stuff pretty closely.
It's probably because it doesn't have Final Fantasy in the name at all.
Well, it does after the colon, and maybe I don't. That's why I stopped reading the game title. It's Stranger. What do you say, Strangers or Stranger? It's only one Stranger. Stranger of Paradise. Yeah, maybe I did see an article about a game called Stranger of Paradise. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Some dude stuck on an island, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what order to do my various notes in. Okay, so I'll get one thing out of the way. Just I don't want to surprise people in a few months, but I told Rob and I told John at Nerd Noise Radio that I made a commitment to myself that I'm going to be done podcasting forever when I turn 50. Mm-hmm. To be blunt, I plan to do that when I turn 40. Things didn't really happen that way. It's not that I dislike it or anything. I've been doing it for 15 years. That's it for me. No, like that's I feel like that's a good run. I'm not going to tell people on the internet when my birthday is, but 50 is within the 1 year range for me.
Yeah.
So.
It's not very soon, but we have kind of a year left.
Yeah, right around then. Again, I'm not giving out my real birthday. I don't give my real birthday to anyone. I mean, my wife knows it. That's about it. I know that sounds like a crazy person thing, but the internet and all that. But we'll see. We'll see how things go for the next year or however long it is. Mm-hmm. I went to do an escape room at Woodfield Mall. Are you familiar with Woodfield Mall?
No.
Woodfield Mall. It's the largest mall in Illinois and one of the 10 largest in the world, maybe. I don't know. Making that up. I don't know. But they have a new escape room there, so I went to do that. It's like a Five Nights at Freddy's themed escape room.
Okay.
It's off-brand. They call it like Cheesy's Pizzeria. Mm-hmm. And they got like an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese doll that they converted to look like a rat that actually works and like talks to you and stuff during the game.
Weird.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's really awesome. And the parking lot smelled like so much weed. It was just a great time. That's one thing. Like I'm all for legalized weed, and I know your home state, I believe, is legalized weed.
Yes.
At least I get that impression because when I'm driving in northern Wisconsin, there's lots of signs telling you how far away the Michigan border is.
Yes.
And when you're in southern Wisconsin, it's all the signs are telling you how close the Illinois border is. So the thing I've noticed, though, is whenever I go to a mall now, the parking lot, any parking lot, just reeks of weed. Like people, I guess, before they're going to go shopping, decide they have to toke up.
I find that as well. Yeah. And I'll like walk through a cloud of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the Woodfield Mall in particular was bad. It was like a Grateful Dead concert in that parking lot. But what's interesting to me, this is just a small little side note, is Woodfield Mall had an electronics boutique store going all the way back to at least 1992. And that store is now a GameStop. But if you go to the mall, like the thing that amazes me is that store has not changed in 30 years. Mm-hmm. Like it's the exact same location, same layout. Like only thing different is like the sign over the door. And every other like electronics boutique or Funcoland or Software Etc. or Babbage's, anything else that became part of the GameStop empire, none of them are in the original location anymore. Mm-hmm. Except this one. And I'm kind of curious if listeners have a store that like in their area that has been the exact same store for that long.
We have one probably since 96. It was a Funcoland and then a something else. And now it's a GameStop that sells T-shirts and Funko Pops for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's in a strip mall.
Okay. Strip mall. Okay. Yeah. So there is a GameStop not too far from me that was a Funcoland, but it's not that old. It opened in the late 90s. Still pretty old. Pretty good run.
Yeah.
I like that Funcoland because when you went shopping there in like 1996 or 97, you could get like Super Mario RPG for $1.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So let's see. I'm sorry. I got so many notes today. Oh yeah. So limited run games. They recently put out. They put out a pre-order for the Cosmic Fantasy Collection, Cosmic Fantasy 1 and 2. So one of these has never been released in America. The other was only on TurboGrafx CD. But like, have you tried buying anything from limited run games recently?
No, not for a year or two at least.
So they have changed their back end to some other company. They no longer like fulfill their own orders. It goes out to some other company. And this company was like, oh no, we don't take Apple Pay, PayPal, Venmo, Google Pay. Just give us your credit card number. We promise it's secure. Right? And online, I am pretty extremely paranoid. If I'm not giving out my birthday to people, man, I'm sure not giving out my credit card to a company I've never heard of. Right? And so I'm like, you know what? I don't know about this. So I ended up not ordering the game and instead wrote an article about it. We'll put in the notes.
Well, my credit cards, when you put them into a new site, generate a new credit card number that can only be used on that site in case they're hacked or something you can trace where it came from. And but yeah, I looked up that Purple Dot like pre-order. They specialize in pre-orders, so it makes sense that LRG uses them. But I was gonna put a bet that they were an Embracer Group company, and they were not.
They're not,
I figured it was like part of downsizing, saving money, but no, it's not part of Embracer.
Interesting. Okay. I thought for sure that it must have been. But there's some ways. Anyways, I'm like, you know what? I don't need this game. I already have it. And this article is about me attempting to play Cosmic Fantasy 2. It turns out Cosmic Fantasy 2 is really a hard game to get back into if you haven't played it in a long time. Because it's one of these 16-bit games where it's just nonstop battles. And like I mentioned, this article I wrote, I almost got a game over in the very first random battle.
That's great.
So that was my thing I did this week. What else I put in the notes here? Oh, I shared an article. I'm like, oh, this is a Rob article. I didn't even read it.
Yeah, I didn't read this yet, but I'm going to tonight. But can you sum up? We'll have this article in our show notes. In fact, I'll just put it in the news items so we don't accidentally delete it. But
yeah, I didn't put it in news because it's not really news. It's a very long King's Quest 4 review and like version comparison.
Oh, I'm so going to read this tonight.
Yeah. So it's King's Quest 4 review and versions.
What do you think your favorite King's Quest is?
5 is the only one that I've played all the way through.
Oh, okay. That is a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually first played through that on the NES.
That is a weird version of it. I was shocked when I found out that existed.
Yeah. So really not a bad port.
It's weird because I think on PC or computers, it only exists on 16-bit computers. So the fact that it's on NES is crazy.
Yeah. And it's, again, good. It, doesn't look as good as the PC CD version, but it looks pretty good. Still incredibly difficult. Man, I definitely had to look at the hint book for that. So that is it for me. I'm sorry that's a lot of stuff. What have you been up to?
No, that's fine. Yeah. It's been a while, so a lot of these notes are a little dated, but I was playing around with the Analog Pocket, and the PC Engine support is still not that great. And I was looking into it. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, the Sega CD port is fine, so why am I still getting choppy audio on this? So I put in a few bugs on GitHub, and I noticed a ton of similar bugs. So I put a comment in there just saying, like, hey, is this, still an active project? Nothing negative in my comment, just a question, pretty much like, should I just stop caring about this core? And the guy actually wrote back, he's like, no, man, I'm just really busy. And I get it. Hey, I have I have GitHub, libraries that are, 1/100th probably of the complexity of this core, and I don't fix any bugs, so I get it. So hopefully he said he's going to try to make some time and rewrite. I guess it's the audio transfer part of the core, so hopefully that'll get fixed. And hey, do you know the game Sunset Overdrive?
I've heard of it, but I do not know it.
Yeah, it's an older Xbox game, I think from the mid 2000s, something like that. And I just heard good things, overlooked game, that kind of thing, and I checked it out, and you know what? It is really fun. I'm not going to go and describe this game because it's really hard. It would take a long time, but I would definitely suggest this game. I'm halfway through it. I don't know if I'm going to finish it, but I do think it's a very fun game. I just probably won't finish it just because I have so many games to play and not a lot of time. And speaking of which, I've been playing that, even though I have it on Xbox, I've been playing it on the Steam Deck. I got it on Steam, for like $1 or something. And it is marked as not supported. At least it was when I started. And this will be the 5th or 6th totally unsupported. Like, it doesn't say, we didn't try. It doesn't say, we didn't test it, we don't know. It says, this... It says this will not work. Yeah. And this one, I'm trying to think 2 different Star Wars games, just they've all worked totally fine. So I say anyone who's on the fence about a Steam Deck, maybe just do some Googling, see if there's a game or two you want it for, and it probably works. And then over Christmas, I bought my niece Just Dance 2024 because she was getting a Switch for Christmas.
Okay, so for Switch. I didn't know if that was actually still being made for Wii or something.
Yeah. Well, so here's the catch of, air quotes, it being made. So I ordered it on Amazon so it could be delivered to her place because they don't live around here. And because I didn't want a digital code in a card or something.
Yeah.
It's always fun to open something up. And my sister, my niece's mom, texts me and is like, I think we got scammed. I opened this up and the box is empty. I'm like, no problem.
Oh.
That's why we use Amazon. It was probably good packaging. Someone scammed them. So, I got it returned to Amazon for free. The next day, another one shipped up. She's like, you're not going to believe this. The box is empty.
I'm looking at the box art. Did she miss the text across the top of the box that says full game download, game card not included?
Yes, exactly. I was like, can you just open it up? Is there a code in there? And she's like,
just bought plastic.
It's just plastic. It's just, you cannot buy a physical copy of this game. It's just a plastic box.
Oh, that is awful. That's
right.
It's
what a waste.
Because it's just garbage. Yeah. It's literally unnecessary plastic.
Yeah. Oh, what a joke. So that kind of made me sad. But
how many songs from the track list of 42 here can you actually name?
I didn't even look at a track list.
All right, I'm trying to think of how many. If I look at the name that I recognize, I know that song, and I'm not trying to sound. It's younger artists. Okay, I've heard of BTS, and I think I've heard this song, Butter. That's a song by. Okay, I think I've heard that one. The Don't Ya song by the Pussycat Dolls. I've heard of that. I've heard of the band Blackpink, but I don't know what they do. I've heard of the band Fall Out Boy, but I don't know the song. I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. Okay, I've heard of that. Andy Williams, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Yeah, okay, I know that one. But I was going through this list. Wow. Rapper's Delight is on there. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't... We have some older version of this, and that was always... It does nothing but make me feel really old, because I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know what these bands are.
I think that's the theme of this episode.
Yeah.
It's probably the theme of this podcast, huh?
Yeah. I never heard of that. Yeah.
Speaking of podcast, we do have one of those. Maybe
we do. We do have some news and stuff.
Maybe we start one.
Hyperkin is making a handheld Sega Genesis. I have the At Games handheld Sega Genesis that plays original carts. It was only $49.99, I think. It might be one of those Black Friday deals.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very good. I mean, it functions, but it's not like awesome. Do you own any Hyperkin systems?
I bought that one that came out before the Genesis Mini. Is that a Hyperkin? Everyone confused it for the Genesis Mini.
Okay, Hyperkin has made a mini Genesis system. Yes.
It was so bad I took it back. I returned.
Yeah. So what are they doing different with this one that it will be good?
So this makes no sense. So this is from The Verge, and this says, Hyperkin's press release doesn't go into detail about the Mega 95, but it reportedly uses hardware emulation approach with the quality that sits somewhere between software emulators and premium FPGA-based systems. So those two things are...
This tells me it's a NES on a chip.
But then that would be software emulation. And they said hardware emulation. So what... It's one or the other. You know what I mean? So that didn't answer any questions. If it's hardware emulation, it might be great.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, my experience with Hyperkin is their stuff is affordable, but it's not very good.
Maybe there's an FPGA chip that is so weak it can only, handle these 16-bit consoles, and that's what they're using them. Maybe that's how they keep it at $60 or whatever it's going to be.
Well, so this article references the Mega Retron HD gaming console, which is their current Genesis system.
That's like an Android system, right? I'm pretty sure anything Retron is Android, I think.
I don't think it's Android. It's software emulation for sure.
Yeah.
Compatible with... Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, again, Hyperkid, for me, it's what you're getting. If Analog made this system, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably pretty good. Hyperkin, it's not going to be great. I mean, I have the Retron, the NES Retron. I kind of regret it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work that well. I mean, the colors are off, the sound is off.
Yeah,
the
you're better off.
Comes with is good. It actually has a pretty good controller, so maybe they make good controllers.
I was going to say, this thing looks like you took a 6-button Genesis controller and put a screen in the middle of it. So that kind of is cool. It looks like a good form factor. It looks like it has a dock that has Genesis controller ports on the front, and it does have USB-C on the back, so you could get an adapter for HDMI and stuff like that. So, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, here's the thing. Like, they made the Retron 77, right? You're familiar with that? That's the...
yeah.
Atari has made the exact same thing for twice as much money.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the game compatibility list for the Retron 77, it's identical to the game compatibility list for the Atari 2600 HD or whatever they're calling it.
The Plus, yeah.
Yeah, the like 4 or 5 unsupported games are the exact same. So that tells me these are doing they're the same console under the hood. The Hyperkin version is like half the price. So just get that one, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think this is going to be worth $150 or whatever they're charging.
Probably not, but we'll see. We'll report on some reviews when they come out. I'm definitely not going to pre-order one. I mean, I don't need it. I have a Pocket.
You have no need for this.
The next article is a Hackaday article about how to mod your SNES controller with an Arduino so it could support USB. So please only do that if you have a broken controller.
Yeah, I would label this under how to ruin a Super Nintendo
Exactly,
controller.
yeah. If you have a controller you need to bring back from the dead, do this. And then the 2 next articles I think are fantastic. The Flippy Drive is a new OED for the GameCube that doesn't need any soldering. And I also linked a YouTube video on how to install it, and it's really dead simple. You essentially just, the optical drive in the GameCube just, is a ribbon connector that goes into the board. This plugs in to that connector, and the actual optical drive kind of plugs into this.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of hard to describe how it does it, but anyway, they both fit in the same port, and so you could still use your optical drive, or you could use an SD card, and you don't have to ruin your GameCube. So this is really neat. The flippy drive.
What's the advantage of this over a modded Wii?
You could just play your GameCube games in this.
But isn't that what you do with the modded Wii also?
Doesn't the Wii need to be... Well, that needs to be software hacked, like firmware hacked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this does not.
Okay.
So, if you love your GameCube... And also, if you don't care about the Wii, but you love your GameCube, then this.
Would this work if you had a GameCube that actually had a dead CD drive?
Yes. Yeah.
I do have a GameCube with a dead CD drive.
Yeah, this will bring it back to life.
Okay. So that would be okay for that.
Mm-hmm.
How much is this here?
Let's see.
$38.
It's pretty reasonable.
I'll look at it again, maybe. Maybe for this GameCube I have that's dead, maybe. I thought this was going to be like $100. $38 does not seem that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let me guess. They're also using purple dot. Let me guess. Okay. Like, I'm just saying, like, this to go back on this, like, I've been doing software development for over 25 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I have worked on many, like, technology migration projects. Like, we're using platform A, we want to move to platform B, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, let's say you're limited on games. We are using credit card processor A, we want to switch to credit card, back office processor B, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first lesson is you don't move to one that has fewer features than what you currently have. Right?
Yeah.
So if your current backend takes all the payment forms, you don't switch to one that doesn't. Unless you have some sort of corporate overlord that's just an idiot, which might be the case.
Yeah, that might be the case. What do we got next? Oh, yeah. On Retro RGB, Golden Axe 32X now works on real hardware. So I guess they had a ROM hack for the 32X that was pretty much the arcade game, kind of a mix between the Genesis game and the arcade game on the 32X. And it only worked in software emulation before, and now it works on real hardware. So there you go.
Nice. So I could put this on my flash card now.
Yeah. This looks like a really, really cool project. A lot of the old arcade animations are back into this. Have you ever played the six player X-Men game in the arcade?
No, but I don't have 5 friends either. So
Okay. Well, it's a very good game. And I love playing Wolverine in that, but it has just been ported to the Saturn.
Okay.
Yeah. So, or you could get the 1-up version and get really, really close to your friends and play it.
And this was never a Saturn game originally.
No, they ported this to the PS3 and the 360. I don't know if that was just like built-in emulation or what, but yeah, it was never on the Saturn.
Okay. Seems like it would have been. Maybe that's why they did this project.
Exactly, yeah.
This one I added. Secret code for Clockwork Knight 2 unlocking the original Clockwork Knight discovered after 28 years. So if you own Clockwork Knight 2 for the Sega Saturn, I suspect the price on eBay just skyrocketed. You also get the first game now through a code.
That's pretty cool. I can't believe it took them that long to sort that out.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if someone had looked at the data files, they might have noticed hey, that's kind of weird. How come there's 2 copies of the game on here? It comes to you from a site literally called clockworkknight.com. I gotta go figure out if that's a real... Is that a real site?
I have no idea.
It has to be. Yeah, clockworkknight.com. Well, seems like they never really finished it. They have a page that says clockworkknight.com, coming 2022. The website is currently being built. Will be open in late 2024. I don't know what they're doing that it takes them 2 years to put together a simple HTML page, but okay.
And I am... Oh, sorry. No, I'm not going to do that.
Nope. Okay.
And that is our news, right?
That is it. Yes, that is it for news and stuff.
We do have a topic this week.
Yes.
So since this is early in our 6th season, we thought it'd be fun to go through our kind of favorites and least favorites from the first 5 seasons of our Game Club game picks. What games worked, what didn't, what games surprised us maybe. There are no rules to this list.
Well, I have 2 lists. I have like my 5 favorite games that I picked, and then my 5 favorite games that Rob, or at least in case someone not named Rob, picked. I didn't look. I know like Zach maintains a spreadsheet of who picked what, but I'm a very bad person and I didn't look at it. So, which order do I want to do this in? Just the order on the notes here.
Yeah.
My top 5 picks. I have Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which I forgot that we picked, but I probably picked it around the time I got the remake.
Yeah, that's your number 1.
Well, I used a lettered list instead of a numbered list for exactly that reason.
Well, I used bullet points, so there you go.
There you go. Bullet points would have made more sense, I guess. So I got that. You want to read my top 5, and then you do your top 5? Okay, so the top 5 of things I picked were GTA Vice City, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Tempest 2000, Food Fight, and Super Pac-Man.
Those bottom 2 surprised me. Why did you choose those?
I play Food Fight a lot more than you probably think. I have like a little Raspberry Pi emulation machine right here on my desk. And if I just have I just need to tune out for 2 minutes, just take a quick break. Food Fight is almost always my go-to game now. The 7800 version I actually prefer over the arcade one because it's a lot easier.
Are you good at Food Fight?
I mean, I don't know. I can make it 10 stages without getting hit. But again, it's 7800, which is admittedly much easier than the arcade.
And then why Super Pac-Man?
I don't know. I've always liked the aesthetic of Super Pac-Man. And on that collection, the whatever it's called, Pac-Man Super Ultra Mega Collection. What was it called? Pac-Man.
I have no idea.
You know the one I'm talking about.
No, I forgot it existed, but I'm sure I own it.
You have it. It's where you build an arcade. You unlock the
Atari 50? No,
not Atari 50. It's the Pac-Man collection, and you build your arcade, and it's got every Pac-Man game except for Miss Pac-Man.
I have not. I remember reporting on that, but I have not played it.
It has Pac-Man 256 or something.
I love that game.
That endless scroller one. But I really like the aesthetic of it. I go back and play it. It's another one I can get 10 stages in, and it's always been a good time. It's just always been a game I like going back to.
Yeah, it was when we played that for the Game Club that I realized by reading, I don't know, something, the manual, Wikipedia, something, that Pac-Man doesn't get bigger. He gets closer to the screen because he's flying.
He's flying, yes.
It's a perspective
That's why he
thing.
goes over the ghosts. Yeah. Well, the artwork on the cabinet clearly explains that. He's got a cape on and stuff.
I don't know how clear that is, but I think when I only played it twice and I was really young, before we did it for Game Club.
Yeah, it's some of my favorite cabinet artwork. It really is. I don't know why I just have always loved the Super Pac-Man arcade cabinet, but it would be like that and Dragon's Lair would be the 2 I would want in my house. Even if I never played them, they would just look awesome.
Does 1UP have Super Pac-Man? Let's see.
Which one?
Any of them.
Arcade 1UP. I see a picture of one right now.
Okay.
It's an Arcade 1UP Super Pac-Man, $299 out of stock at Best Buy right now.
Yeah,
that is not worth $300, man.
No, there's the tabletop version for $199. Also not worth it.
Also not worth it, yeah.
Well, my favorite, my own picks for Game Club, my top 5. In no particular order: Bonk's Adventure, Wings of Fury, Tron Deadly Discs, 4D Boxing, and Legendary Wings. Any of those you like?
Well, I like Tron Deadly Discs. That's another one where I like the aesthetic of the game more than the actual game. Bonk's Adventure, of course, is a classic. I play that. I probably play through a couple stages once a year on that. 4D Boxing, it was the only one of these I did not get into.
I was surprised how much I liked that game. Well, I remember too, Wings of Fury, I think you didn't figure out, that was like first or second episode type thing.
It was early, yeah.
You didn't figure out that, because again, they don't make it clear unless you have like a computer manual in front of you, that you could go up above the screen and then you're above the clouds so you don't have things shooting at you, so you could get much further that way if you have to. It really simplifies it.
Yeah, that could be right.
But like Bonk's Adventure and Legendary Wings, those are 2 games that I can just zone out and beat every time. With Bonk's Adventure, sometimes I almost don't beat it, but I always get through. And Tron Deadly Discs, that game is just so fun to me. I just really like the actual gameplay in that. And I did have a bonus game in here, DuckTales, just because.
Yeah, DuckTales, I was debating adding that too, because that is such, I mean, I've never finished DuckTales. I don't think I'll ever in my entire life actually win DuckTales. But it's something I like a lot. A great soundtrack. Again, another like aesthetically beautiful game, and definitely a good throwback to that era, because this is when DuckTales was briefly popular on TV.
Yeah. That game again, for some reason, I am not a good video game player. I'm actually bad at video games. But that game too, I could just beat with my eyes closed. And ever since I was a kid, I remember the first day I have a very vivid memory of getting it from Meyer. I beat it that day. And one of my all-time favorite songs is the Moon song from DuckTales.
Oh, yeah.
And if you watch, now my kids are way younger than yours, they kind of rebooted DuckTales on Netflix.
Okay.
And the mom or aunt or something of Huey, Dewey, and Louie sings the Moon song, and with lyrics. And it's actually really well done. It's very impressive. So if anyone loves that song, go to YouTube and check that out.
Well, if you hear me typing, they do the 8-Bit Big Band, who I can never say enough nice things about, does a cover of the Moon theme. I was just seeing if that's like someplace you can easily find.
Yeah.
Like a live, like orchestral version, big band version of the Moon. It's a really good one.
Yeah, that song is just great. And then also the Winter song in Bonk's Adventure is also one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, that has some stuff on OC Remix. It's really good too. Someone did like a Christmas remix of that song.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a good one.
What are your top 5 games that or just not you, picked?
Yeah, I would have it's funny because I put DuckTales or Bonk's Revenge was my backup for one of these, because it turns out it wasn't you, but then you picked both of them. So, no, you picked Bonk's Adventure, not Bonk's Revenge.
Yeah, I like Adventure just a little bit. I understand that Bonk's Revenge is objectively a better game.
Okay.
But I just like the feel of Bonk's Adventure a little better.
So I put down for your picks Chrono Trigger, Empire Strikes Back 2600, Phantasy Star, Devil's Crush, and the one that I guess was not you after all, Monster in My Pocket.
Yeah, that was Randy from Nerd Out
Yeah.
Toys.
I just played Monster in My Pocket last week, so I'm like, did I really like that game a lot? And then I played it again, I'm like, yeah, I do. It reminds me a lot of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah,
I think maybe that's
it
why.
does, yeah. Yeah, that's a great
to me,
game.
this is the game that I was most surprised that I liked a lot. But I mean, your list, you have two of the all-time great RPGs on there. Devil's Crush is a game you never really get bored of playing.
Never.
It's always one. And Empire Strikes Back 2600 is another game that, you fire it up once or twice a year when you just need a little break.
Yeah. You could play that game, a few times a year for 5 or 10 minutes and you're good. You don't need to play that game all day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to win that game either. Like there's some sort of ending to it. So, but I play until I've done enough.
Yeah. And Devil's Crush, the music in that is just, that's an earworm for sure.
It is, yeah.
Let's see. My favorite, not Rob picks. I think they're all from you.
I think I picked all these. I remember picking all these.
Virtua Racing, California Games, Tron, like the arcade one, not Deadly Disc. Simpsons Hit and Run, and Haunting, starring Poltergeist.
Yeah, the last one's kind of surprising because I thought that game got. I guess maybe I didn't play it enough, but I was like, I remember getting kind of burned out on it a little quickly.
I remember I'd never heard of that game as a kid. I remember immediately being, I don't want to say into it, but just really fascinated by it. Like, this is such a weird concept. And so I downloaded and checked out the original manual and read it through and through. And I think that kind of helped me get better at the game, which made the game more fun for me. And I played that for hours. I never beat it, but I played it for hours and watched a few playthroughs. And great game. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should watch a speed run or something because it is a neat concept. But the rest is like Simpsons Hit and Run is like #1 game that needs a remake.
Absolutely. Yeah, that game should be on everything all the time.
Yeah, it's a spectacular game.
And it was
California Games. I assume you're talking about the 2600 version, which is the bizarrely most fun version.
Oh, what a crazy impressive game. That might be the most impressive game on the 2600, where you're like, how is the system doing this?
Yeah. Well, and just how is it so much more fun than like a 16-bit version of the same game?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even like the hacky sack and stuff is just so much better somehow. And I think it's also the best. I mean, I don't think I know, because it's kind of in the same realm of summer games, winter games, and then California games. And this is the best one.
Yeah.
And Virtua Racing, so I played it on my projector, and I started out with the MAME version of it. And I had my PS4 controller all hooked up and ready to go. I had big speakers all hooked up and ready to go. And holy moly, what an experience that was. I was not expecting that. I forgot how smooth and how great the arcade version of that is. I know you think the Genesis port of it's very impressive, and I guess it is, but it's just not fun for me. The 32X one's fine, though.
Yeah. 32X one is pretty good.
And how much was that game on Genesis when it came out? Like a stupid amount of money?
$90.
That's insane.
$89.99.
Now, I also have some least favorite games in here.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple too.
Let's start with yours.
All right. Did I write down two? Okay. So the worst game I picked was Pac-Land. And I think the worst game you picked was Vectron. I went back and looked, and I saw a lot of reviews for Vectron that were like super positive. And I'm like, I don't get it. I have no clue what I'm doing in this game at all.
Yeah, I tried. I remember, because I forgot I picked that game, and I remember wanting to try an Intellivision game because I think I got Intellivision working on, I don't know, one of the emulators, Battlesera or something, RetroArch. And again, I think it was very early on. And I don't even think I got it working. I don't think I could get a controller working with it.
Yeah.
And Pac-Land just isn't fun.
Pac-Land is just an awful time. It looks nice. I mean, I guess it's a very good-looking game for the time, but man, is that just awful.
Yeah, at least it inspired Super Mario Brothers. How about that? We'll give it
I suppose. So I'm going back to California games real quick. I'm looking in, and now I realize why the 2600 version is better.
Why?
It doesn't have roller skating.
That is pretty bad.
That's the worst event in every other version. And then it has, which we kind of glossed over, the BMX version. So the BMX is in all iterations of California games, but the 2600 one is just insanely fun.
Yeah.
They could have just sold it as a separate game.
Yeah, I mean, that could be in an iPad or something, just an endless runner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazingly fun game. For something so simple, it's just, you just want to get to that BMX stage and play it forever.
There is a game that is pretty much like that on iPhones and Android. Yeah, I think it's on both. Yeah, called Ski Safari.
Okay.
So you're skiing and you're trying to outrun an avalanche instead of BMX biking down the hill.
But yeah, so Pac-Land, that's one where like on that Pac-Man collection I mentioned, you unlock things like decorations for your arcade and stuff by meeting certain goals in games. In Pac-Land, it was, I just had to like, bear it to get through to unlock, where you get like a Pac-Land, you get like some extra thing for your arcade.
Did you beat it?
No, but you have to make it through like the first stage, like all the way there and back. And it includes that one jump where it's like, there's like a springboard you have to jump off, I guess. But I don't know how you're ever supposed to hit that.
Yeah. 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 Well, my least favorites are, here's one I picked, Flight Simulator.
Okay.
One you picked, Xanadu.
Yeah.
And I don't know who picked Crystal Castles.
I think I picked that too.
Okay.
I think I might have picked it around the time of I got Atari 50 because I don't know what else I would have played it on. And Crystal Castles is indeed a very bad game, but it looks good. Very beautiful, bad game.
I wanted to like it because it's on the same hardware as Cloak and Dagger, and it's not nearly as good.
But Faxanadu or Fuzanadu, I believe, is how it's intended to be pronounced, although nobody would ever call it that, I suppose. I mean, it gets better. I don't recall how far you played.
Not far.
Yeah, I mean, it does get better. But I can see not liking that game. And Flight Simulator is either you love that game or it's just boring.
See, I loved Flight Simulator 3 when it first came out. It was one of my first 386 games I had. And that's the one I tried playing, and I was just like, what am I? This is so boring. Make it stop. And then my surprise games were Clockwork Knight in Busyland, that quick select game. I just enjoyed it way more than I should have. And Shadow the Ninja, because I'm shocked how much better it is than Ninja Gaiden.
It is. It's a very good game. I was surprised at that game too. My bonus was I wrote down making us watch Throut and Neck is the worst thing I've ever done to another person.
Yeah, that was not easy. And then we had all the listeners listen to us talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I watched it back in the day, I had a couple drinks and by the time it came on.
It was a cool concept, but it was not very well executed.
I don't even know I would go that far. I'll agree with the not well executed part.
Yeah, not A for effort. But if any of our listeners have any opinions on their, favorite games, least favorite games that we have picked, Zach does have a master game list somewhere. It's linked somewhere. I don't know if it's in the socials or what, but I'm sure if you dig, you'll be able to find it. Maybe he'll put it in the show notes. Please email us, email@retrogameclub.net. And we do have Game Club.
We do.
I guess I'll go first here. Mine's up there first. Right. So I did Super C. That is the second Contra game. And I think it was released like in 1987. And it pretty much is Well, Contra 2. It's almost the same graphics. It's almost the same, well, pretty much the same music. It just sounds a little bit different. They got rid of the behind the back, I guess, side scroller, not side scrolling, where you're running back and forth and you don't want to get electrocuted. Stages for kind of top down stages, which I thought was a big improvement. A new Konami code, which threw everyone off back in the day. Right, left, down, up, A, B, start. And you have the same weapons. It's still Lance and, Lance and Bruce? Is that their names? And
wait, what is it? Is that their names?
Yeah. It's Lance and Bruce, Lance Bill, something like that. And so in Europe, it's called Probotector 2, which makes me really uncomfortable, that name.
That was the first game. It was called Probotector.
Yeah, it's just
obviously because it's called Probotector 2.
When you see it written out, it just looks like something you don't want done to you.
Right. It looks like a procedure you have to get around the time you turn 40 or 50.
Exactly. Yeah, just not a good time. And back in the day, I was a big Contra fan. I would always go over to some neighborhood kid's house, or they would come over, and Contra was an easy game. Two kids could play pretty much all day long if they wanted to. And I just had a blast with it. I did not get Super C until I did have it, but it was really late because it must have been maybe even 1990, 91 or after that. Had I known it was not a rip-off game, I probably would have saved my lawn mowing money and bought it, but eventually I got it as a birthday or Christmas present. I didn't get it because I figured if Contra had a sequel, it would be called Super Contra or Contra 2. And even though this had Konami on it, I was kind of too young to put that together. And so I figured it was not the real thing just because it was called Super C. Kind of like when you get the cheap version of a cereal,
Oh, yeah. That stuff's great, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the cheap, the knockoff pop.
Exactly. Yeah. Where
Dr. Thunder, stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't taste as good, but it's fine. But, I guess my main thesis of this game is this is how a sequel's done. It's just different enough. It feels exactly like the first one, but more of it. They don't go over the top. And if you like Contra, you'll love this game. Zach put in here, a hot take is that this is better than Contra. And I would agree. I would. Do I have the nostalgia for this? Not as much, but it is great. And again, if you like Contra. Speaking of which, do you like Contra?
I do not. No. I have never liked Contra. I tried Super C on the same emulation box here that I just mentioned. I literally died in under a minute. Not died, game over in under a minute.
Did you try again though?
No. I was just oh, that's right.
That's the problem.
I freaking hate these games. And I understand why people like them. I don't think they're bad in an objective sense of being bad. They're not like Pac-Land. Pac-Land is a bad game, and there's nobody on earth who enjoys playing that game.
Yes. Whereas
Contra and Super C, I can get somebody liking that game. Okay, I see the point. This is just not something I like. It's sort of like Gunstar. I tried to like Gunstar Heroes because everybody says Gunstar Heroes is great, and I'm like, no, not even gonna finish the first stage. Too much going on. I just was like, nah, this isn't what I like to play.
Contra's a memorization game, really.
Yeah.
But I get it. And let's move on to your game.
Yeah, I went with the original Final Fantasy. So I recently picked up the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, which is kind of weird. I was poking around the games, and what I didn't realize is they're not like the Game Boy Advance versions that were previously made, because just off topic, but Final Fantasy V in the Game Boy Advance version, there's extra jobs that they added, and those jobs aren't present in this pixel remaster. It's just the things that were in the original Super Famicom game. So it's like another... It's not like an evolution of the game like they've been doing over the years. It's like we're starting over with a remaster. And they all look the same. You know, that's the other thing. They all kind of have the same graphical style now.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, the original Final Fantasy... so the original game had a level cap of 50, and it required a good deal of grinding to win. In the Pixel Remaster version, you can bump up how fast you gain experience and money, and you can finish that game in under 10 hours. I played it over winter break, and I finished it in like 10 hours flat.
Okay.
So that's like, you know, a week and a half for most people, right? I looked, and like the current speedrun record is 1 hour and 41 minutes. and again, it's because you just gain levels like crazy if you turn up the XP on it. What I kind of noticed is like the classes, you know, you basically start, there's like 6 different classes you can choose from. They aren't really that well balanced. Like the red mage pretty much is good enough to like where you don't need a white mage or black mage in your party. Black mage still does more damage to bosses, but like you pretty much don't need a white mage. A red mage can do everything a white mage can do and is actually more useful in combat. Story is pretty good for the time, for like a early, you know, kind of mid-80s RPG that's fun. Has a time travel plot twist at the end, which probably ties back to this prequel that I'd never heard of. You know, I would say I wrote down here that it was very good for an NES JRPG at the time, certainly better than anything else. If you compare it to Phantasy Star, though, it looks super basic. Like original Final Fantasy versus Phantasy Star, they don't even look like they're the same generation.
What about the battle system? What do you think between those two?
About the same. Phantasy Star, the battles are slower because of animation. So Final Fantasy, you can get through battles a lot quicker because there's animation, but it's like, you know, 2 frames of animation. Whereas Phantasy Star, like you probably got into the fights with like the zombies. Remember those battles that do like a whole dance every time they attack?
Yeah, and sometimes there's like 5 of them.
Yeah, they do like the entire dance from Thriller for every attack.
Yes.
Like the full 5-minute music video they reenact for each attack. So like that part's a little better, but overall Phantasy Star just doesn't look like it's the same generation as the original Final Fantasy. Of course, it didn't last that long. You know, by the time you get to the last 16-bit games, it's huge disparity between them now. But overall, I like it, and if you get a chance to play the remaster, it's a really quick playthrough.
Okay, so you picked this game, and again, that was like 30 days ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, at the time, oh God, I'm not going to have time to play this. But I wasn't thinking about how much time we have.
Yeah.
And then I forgot. So I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Is this a game you think I should play, though? Like, do you think it's worth 10 hours for me to do?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to understand like how the series began and see what sort of elements from the first game survived through the entire series, it's like 10 hours. Now, I went and ground up to like level 99. Even, you know, you could probably do it in less than 10 hours because, again, the last boss is designed to be defeated at level 50.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's just if you want to make it a lot easier, you can go beyond level 50 now.
Okay, nice. And then for someone like me who hasn't played it, is this a game that I should use a game fact for, or does it kind of tell you where to go?
Yeah, it tells you where to go, and it's a pretty small world. I mean, again, that's the other reason when you compare this to Phantasy Star, it's really weird, because Phantasy Star is just a much bigger world than Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is a pretty small map.
You kind of need a game fact for Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be some times where like a clue is a little bit obtuse or something, but it's a very small map. You know, it's a couple towns, couple dungeons. That's about it. It's a very short. The game's got bigger. I mean, by the time you get to like 4 and 5 especially, 5. Like I was playing a bit of 5 again, and I finished Final Fantasy 5 before. I had to go back and look at a FAQ to figure out where to go next sometimes because it's huge and winding.
What game are you going to play next?
You should do yours first because I was basing mine on.
Oh, okay.
Yours.
I'm going to do Impossible Mission for the probably C64 but it's also on the Sega Master System and others.
Okay. So I wrote down Zillion for Sega Master System because I think it's a similar game.
Okay, I think I own that one. I'll have to look.
It's a pretty common Master System game. I don't think it's rare or anything.
Yeah, I went through a Master System phase where if it was cheap, I just got it. So I probably have it. And then, yeah, if any of our listeners play any of these games, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. And we do have a little bit of feedback this time.
Yeah. If I can remember which tab has the show notes, I can even get to it. It's this one. Okay. Majors writes in about Analog Duo, because I think we had a discussion about why would you buy an Analog Duo, right?
Because, yeah, the Mister exists.
Mister exists. And for him, it's more about having a kind of easy, future-proof way to play PC Engine games down the road. And it's funny, he mentioned bringing it to an event last week and that it did not work with the hotel TV. But it works with his PC monitor. Overall, he's very happy with it and thinks that, people complaining online just didn't understand what Analog was releasing. I don't know who's complaining. I'm not complaining online. I don't know if it's me. But
I did email him. There have been complaints about it scratching discs, which could be a big deal if you put in your $900 Bonk 3 disc into it. You don't want it to get scratched. And it's kind of many people talking about it, but Majors does say that he has not noticed any scratching happening.
Okay. Yeah, that would be quite a deal breaker. It doesn't have an SD slot, right?
I do not know.
Yeah, because if it did, that would obviously, I would never put an actual physical disc into that thing, and even if I owned the game.
Exactly, yeah. That's why you need a Mister.
Yeah, maybe
well, you have a pocket, don't you? Didn't you get a pocket?
I have a pocket, but did you say PC Engine CD is garbage on it?
Yeah, they're still trying to fix it up, but regular PC Engine works great on it.
Yeah, there's not a lot on regular PC Engine I want to play.
Oh, okay.
Bonk's Revenge. That's about it. Maybe pinball, but okay. Sticking to this email, Metal and Lace. I guess we talked about that. It was in a catalog, right?
Oh, yeah.
To being raised in nerd anime culture of the 90s, he was very aware of this pervy game. The game also made something called Power Dolls, which had a port to the PCFX. Yeah, don't know it. Hating on Tiger Electronics handhelds. Says, he can't defend the whole line of some of the bad movie game tie-in releases. He will say the pinball was very good. Because it didn't overextend the capabilities of the LCD player, and it was good for road trips. And he sent a screenshot or a picture of one. It looks all right.
Yeah.
Why do people not charge a lot for the Sega Personal Organizer? You speculate that it's because it doesn't say Nintendo on it.
Yeah.
Did we talk about Twisted for 3DO, or were we just asking about 3DO recommendations? I
can't remember 2 hours ago, so okay. I don't know.
Well, he has also add to recommendation for Twisted for 3DO. I have played that. It was he calls it 90s Jackbox. It's kind of a similar format to Jackbox, but on 3DO. But then again, you have to figure out the whole multi-controller system for that to work. Games listed in catalogs that never came out. He says he has vivid memories of seeing Gradius 3 ads or articles about Gradius 3 coming out for the NES.
But that was SNES, right? Yeah.
Would have been SNES, I guess, yeah. But then I got confused because the rest of the story, he says, he went to Babbage's one day looking for it, and it wasn't there. So because he had money burning in his pocket, he bought Bayou Billy. Oh.
I played that game a lot, but I haven't played it since I was a kid, and I remember enjoying it back then, and I'm afraid that to go back to it.
Yeah, I think you should definitely try it. I don't know how the light gun emulation works at this point.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Social media questions. So anniversaries. He gives us a couple here. 20 year Soul Calibur 2 and Steam. 30-year NVIDIA is founded. Gunstar Heroes, Rondo of Blood, Ridge Racer, and Phantasy Star 4. And 40-year anniversaries. Keystone Capers, the MSX, Portopia Serial Murders, and SG-1000. And then also note the 10-year anniversary of the Ouya, which I like that. And 30-year anniversary of Link Faces of Evil and the Atari Jaguar.
Nice.
Real quick, over on the one of the TurboGrafx forums, they are talking about, they also do a Game of the Month, and they're doing that Syria fan translation we talked about.
Oh, cool.
And we're sort of coming through here. What are your favorite games from the past 5 seasons? And some of these we talked about, like Tron and Phantasy Star and California games. But also Streets of Rage 2, Sega Rally, Dracula X, Parasol Stars, and Bloody Wolf.
I'm surprised about Bloody Wolf. That one surprises me.
Yeah, he's a big TurboGrafx fan. So that's probably possibly a factor. I remember, again, I think I probably said I liked it for a stage or two.
Yeah.
But my comment probably was, it's good for a stage or two, but if I'm going to play that style game, I'd rather play like Heavy Barrel.
And also you hated on the motorcycle.
The motorcycle part is bad. Yeah.
Well, Majors, thanks for that email as always.
Yeah,
and we have a social media question for the week is, what are your favorite Game Club games over the past 5 years? So same thing. Yeah. And someone writes in for Final Fantasy, about Final Fantasy. As a kid, this game was not easy. Then they remade it, and it was easier on PS1, PSP, and GBA. Most people will not know the horror of ending up deep into the chaos shrine with everyone dead except one, and no healing items. Healing items and magic were limited in the original game. Plus, let's not forget, you could only go up to level 50. So that sounds like something you have experienced before.
Yes.
And I think that is it. This turned into a pretty lengthy episode.
It is, yeah. So again, if you have any thoughts on, what do we talk about here? Impossible Mission, or is it Mission Impossible?
Impossible Mission.
Impossible Mission. Non-copyright infringing Impossible Mission. And Zillion.
Yeah, and if you have any comments on our old Game Club games, what else did we talk about here? If you put in an Arduino and ruin some old thing.
Ruin a controller, yeah.
Yeah, or if you try one of those ODEs, like the new GameCube ODE, please email us. email@retrogameclub.net. That is email@retrogameclub.net. And if you made it all the way through this whole episode, please email us. That's like a challenge. I have no idea if people listen to the entire episode.
Yes, yeah. Please do. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.